Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another LOC recap, and this time we're after week 11 here, and a lot of things are starting to sort themselves out. We start with Dynasty. You look at that mixed bag division. The Golden Knights scored a big win this week to separate himself from the rest of the three mediocre teams in that division. And it'll be interesting to see if Golden Knights can pull away. I do think Golden Knights is the best team in the division and does deserve the mixed bag crown. But still 3 weeks to go here, 1 week including flex week. So it will be important or be interesting to see if any person lands with Golden Knights for potentially the division flex 14. We moved to the Canadian division. It's still Age Crew and Cowichan running away with that division. Both look like solid playoff teams. And, there's a big game coming up this week as well that could show the game of the week coming up. You see Mother Tucker Green Lightning. They're in the lottery odds for top four chances of getting the number one, 6 ballots, 5 ballots respectively. Clearly not good seasons if you're sitting there, but there's a hell of a number one probably coming up there next year. So we'll have to see good quarterbacks, et cetera, et cetera. American division, you see no more still running away with it. You got to give this guy credit for what he's done. 11-0 really has just dominated so far the league. You could see that he's 330 some odd points or 28 ahead of the second highest scoring team in the Age Crew. So just a phenomenal season for No More. And I think for No More, if he does not win a title, you have to consider the season a failure. I hate to say it, right? But when you've gone all in like he has, you definitely want to win that prize for sure. You can see Forever Rebuild and Deuce Bombers in that division are the two worst teams in the league. And of course, they have the highest ballots respectively because of that. The international division, I thought for a second there, every team in the international division was going to make the playoffs, but then Swahino lost to Killer Sheep, which essentially means, unfortunately, every team won't make it. And Subotica is the team that gets the shaft from it because Swahino's points for, and when you have 5 teams tied at 5 and 6 for the last playoff spot, because that's ultimately what's happening here in Dynasty, it reverts to points for, and right now that is Swahino that leads that charge. You can see Klenji did overtake Swahino for the third highest scoring team, though, so that was one significant change, I guess you could say, from week to week. And then Deuce Bombers and Forever Rebuilt still the two lowest scoring teams, as well as Silver Bullets. When we look at our game of the week candidates, folks, got some big ones here. 2 in the international. I mean, look at that international division. Every team's been competitive. So I got Swahino versus Finito, Battle of the Brothers. Subotica Spartans versus Klenji, Battle of the Brothers. It's Battle of the Brothers week in the international division. If you guys didn't know, the 4 teams there are brothers. So hell of a rivalry in the international division. And then I got one other candidate for game of the week, and very well could be for a tie of the lead in the Canadian and could make things interesting for the Flex 14. It's Age Crew versus Cowichan Chicken Turtles. If Cowichan Chicken Turtles wants a chance at that Canadian division, he's going to have to find a way against the Age Crew this week. And should be a fun one to watch for this week. All 3 of those games. All right, next up we get over to Tier 3, folks, and Tier 3 had some close games. Sinner Tiger took care of Cannonballs, W07, beat them by 6 points. Turncoats did the same, had to against Hot Chupa. Time Machine, 6-point victory there. Those ones were great to watch. Ooh Spicy, only a 5-point victory over Battle Street Bears. So definitely some close games in Tier 3 this week. You can see I still remained undefeated at 11-0. Ooh Spicy, huge win for him to continue to stay in the playoffs. And that's going to be important because he's got a tough game this week. Of course, Battle Street Bears and Edabeg and Knicks are 2 promising teams, I feel, for next year. And I think both those teams see what this league's all about and will do quite well next year. American division, it's getting tight. Hot Chupa Time Machine has to be sweating now. At one point looked like had a playoff buy and an easy ticket to Tier 2. Now all of a sudden might not even make the playoffs or win the division if New England Turncoats can turn it up. And right now, you can see New England Turncoats still is the team on the outside looking in. When it comes to that tiebreaker with throwbacks, they didn't play against one another. So it goes to points four. But here's the thing, you guys. I don't know if you newer owners know this, Flex 14. So I will set up the best matchups for playoff implications. So you can pretty much guarantee if it was Flex 14 this week, it's New England Turncoats versus throwbacks for a chance at the playoffs. I mean, does it get any more exciting than that, folks? I don't think it does. Um, International division, my wife is hotter, still has the playoff bye. Or took it from Black Dog really earlier. So there's no doubt about it. My wife is hotter, has proved himself in almost every team in that international division. And then I also want to just welcome our new owner in it to lose it. Thank you so much for taking this team over. I think you will have a obviously fresh start next year. If for people that don't know, Kung Fu Panda was removed from the format. I talked about being active and making sure you had a full lineup set, and I hate to say it, but I got attitude back in return. And why didn't we have IR spots and all this stuff? Well, I think I have 5 or 6 players on IR in tier 3, and I don't have an issue, right? So, anyways, it's so not going to put up with that, folks. I just want good, competitive, fun owners that are respectful, and I think we're getting there for the entire tier. The fact that we only had to remove 2 teams, I think is almost a success, to be honest. You can see top scoring teams is still myself with over 3,000. Throwbacks is there as well as my wife is hotter. Center Tiger 21, good win this week. Good job, Bree. Nice full set lineup. Thank you for that. Taking out Cannonballs 007. So a battle there, just trying to get not finished last in the American. In it to lose it, now the second lowest scoring team. Well, part of it was Kung Fu Panda left guys like Sam Laporte in on IR, right? Like, I mean, no, you're not LOC material. And then Eat a Bag of Nicks now is only the third lowest scoring team. So he had a good week. He almost took me down. I thought he was going to there for a bit. And then, of course, right now, my wife is hotter. If they did qualify for the playoff bye, would guarantee a spot in tier 2. You guys all saw the news. There's going to be 4 teams still moving up from tier 3 to tier 2, but there will not be a team dropping from tier 2 this year due to one team having to be removed. Looking at the game of the week candidates for next week, I got some good ones. I got 2 of them. I got family discounts versus Ooh Spicy. Why is that important? I think Ooh Spicy needs to try to continue to keep winning to fend off New England Turncoats. Remember, Ooh Spicy did beat New England Turncoats earlier this year, which essentially means if Ooh Spicy was a game ahead of New England Turncoats, the way we've always done Flex 14, because they already beat you, there wouldn't be a game against each other there. Now, let's say you're both tied, there would be a game, right? So if they both had the same record, say they're both 7-4, this is the final week, they would both play each other for that final playoff spot, just to put it into perspective. But if the team already has a win ahead of you and beat you earlier this year, you won't get a chance to play them for that playoff berth. Okay. So just so you understand how I've always done Flex 14 in the past, all my longtime owners know this. The other game of the week is going to be Black Dog versus Throwbacks. You can see how important this game's going to be for both. Throwbacks can't lose because New England Turncoats, if you look at the schedule, actually has a couple of easy games here against this division, I believe. So you got to watch out, Throwbacks. You got to had a tough division here, and you're going to have to find a way to win some tough games. So I can't wait to see what happens there. And both those games are going to be incredible. All right, folks, we make our way over to tier 2. And of course, unfortunately, here in tier 2, I'll start off that I made the decision to remove Mystery Relevant. You can see now we have team 14 in the American division. I will just set the lineup for the rest of the year. So team 14 will be one of those teams available for tier 3 qualifier to move up, as well as, of course, we know Purple Unis will also be a team that will be replaced by either a tier 3 team or potentially a tier 1 loser. We'll have to wait to see how it all pans out. Looking at the games this week, I'll be honest with you, most of them are blowouts. Scottish Highlanders beating Morning Chuba by 9 was the closest one. And then we had Biscuits and Gravy over Say My Name by 10, and an irrelevant game there with 2 teams really shitting the bed. I'm sure the tier two owners here that are struggling are happy to know that they won't drop this year. So remember, consolation playoffs is still for a top pick, though. So if you're in that lower consolation round, you definitely want to hope you win that round to get a higher pick. Looking at the divisions, you can see the CDN Division 1, 3 teams making the playoffs. I'm so impressed with Van Isle and Kidna's huge win over Purple Unis and making the playoffs. And I'll be honest, Sandusky Sandman right now sitting there not making the playoffs, I think is a playoff caliber team. So it's got to be tough for Jake to see that. Canadian Division 2, huge win for Jordan McLovin. Let's face it, wiping out you like that, no problem, and puts them in a division lead. You can see Silver Bullets lost to Nohawk 2, and Nohawk 2 has ruined some playoff hopes lately. Didn't ruin Silver Bullet's hopes yet. He still got that final spot, but it's definitely teetering on, oh my God, it's scary with Morning Chuba, their next door neighbors, also at 5-6. But of course, 3 teams tied. It would revert to points for Silver Bullets is there. Sorry, Sandusky Sandman's in that mix as well. American Division, Memphis Mafia lost to Team 14, so I don't know what that says about you, Dirk. A guy that never even set a full lineup, but Team 14 found a way to get his 3rd win of the year, whereas Memphis Mafia falls to 7-4 and is in danger now, falling to the 4th seed if Jordan McLovin can find a way to get some more W's, which probably would make your playoff matchup a little bit tougher. Right now, it looks like that 4th seed's likely going to get Purple Unis, but anything can happen. And of course, we look at American Division 2. Scottish Highlanders still found a way to stay undefeated. So we got No More in Dynasty. We got family discounts in Tier 3. And of course, Scottish Highlanders here in Tier 2 remaining undefeated. Bishop Sycamore, here's a team that just continues to find ways to sneak into the playoffs, which is just phenomenal and says a lot about winning some games. You look at the scoring, still myself, Scottish Highlanders definitely separating himself from Purple Unis in second there. Lowest scoring, Biscuits and Gravy still holds that honor with Say My Name out of that American division. And I've always said all year, next door neighbors, the points for didn't match the record. 3rd lowest scoring team in the league. And I doubt has a chance to make the playoffs now. And when you look at the playoff matchups in that first round, I mean, Scottish Highlanders now against Silver Bullets, that's not a gimme. So, I think there's going to be some interesting games there. You would have myself versus Sycamore, Mafia versus Echidnas, and McLovin versus Purple Unis. I think anyone could win any of those games. So playoffs are going to be quite exciting this year. There's no doubt about it. I got 4 game of the week candidates. That's just how good things are getting here, folks. I got Johnny 8 Balls versus Van Isle Echidnas, right? So Echidnas, if they want to continue to make the playoffs, will have to find a way to win against me. I'm going Nohawk 2 versus Jordan McLovin. Nohawk 2 has just been on a late season charge here and has a chance to do what he already did to you like that in Silver Bullets, and that's beat them in the last 2 weeks. Looking for the sweep here on this string of Canadian Division 2 games, so that's going to be a good game to watch. Bishop Sycamore versus Morning Chuba. So if Morning Chuba has or wants any chance of making the playoffs, it's definitely going to have to be a win against Bishop Sycamore, so that one's very important. And then Sandusky Sandman in a very similar situation, taking on Purple Unis. We know Unis is retired, but still competing and not an easy win. So Sandman, you're going to have to find a way against Unis. Otherwise, I think you're looking towards next year. All right. We reached the final tier here, folks, and that's, of course, Tier 1. None of the games, I think, were really all that close, but one that really was close, Banjo Blitz beating Ramrods by 5 points, puts Ramrods in a very tough spot in terms of survival, and we'll talk about that. And of course, the game of the week, I think, was the game of the week, right? Six and Deuce Bombers. Everybody who had fun watching that one is very competitive. Deuce Bombers did pull out the victory by 9 points in the end, and basically now, if you look at the American division, Deuce Bombers has solidified the 8th seed. So honestly, when I look at all the playoff teams that are in there, all of them are pretty good. I would say the 12th man might be the weakest because they sold, but could still shock some teams. Looking at it, No More is very, very close to clinching the American division. All it's going to take is one more win, and that's a clinch for No More. Looking at the red and white division, of course, it's tied now with myself and the 12th man. So That'll be interesting to watch down the stretch. I picked up 3 injuries this past week, so obviously that hurts, but injuries are part of the game right now. And then of course 12th man sold, so we'll have to see how that one plays out. Maple Leaf division, the six, of course, lost that big game to Deuce Bombers, but I think still will find a way to make the playoffs. It's just where are you going to fit in the seeding? And of course, Billsy Bobs has had an unbelievable year at 9-2 and just looking to stay on into that second seed position. Storm, Mother Tucker, Green Lightning, know all 3 teams 5-6. So they're right there, right? Because Banjo's 5-6, those 3 teams 5-6, Deuce 5-6, Clengy 5-6. All those teams are tied for that last spot. Deuce wins because he has the most points for. And then international division, Finito and Subotica, both these teams look very scary heading into the playoffs, I would say, and definitely contenders. One thing we got to talk about, folks, is you can see the survival watch now. There's 4 teams at 3-8. Now, here's how I would probably treat Flex 14 if this was the case and all 4 teams were tied. I would go 17th versus 20th seed. So in that case, it would be Sueño versus the Age Crew, and then 18th seed versus 19th seed. So it'd be Too Good for Her Name versus Ramrods. Okay. And that would determine who stays in and stays out, right? I think that would be a fair process, right? That's where you're sitting in the standings. You all have the same record. So just to let you know how things could potentially sort out there. Looking at the scoring title, it's still Finito. He has a pretty comfortable lead, right? It's about 78 points over myself. And then Billsy Bobs took over 3rd place here as top scoring team. So definitely a very scary team. One team that I think has to be very concerned is Sky Blue Army. You can see that the 4 teams behind them are 3-8. Remember, there is a rule. So let's say 3 of those teams get the 4th win, and there's 1 team with the 3rd win. Well, if that team has not played Sky Blue Army, that team would get a chance to play Sky Blue Army to get that 4th win and knock them out. So I want you to understand that about Flex 14. The way it has always worked is if a team is a game ahead they've never played, the team behind gets a shot. The only time the team a win behind doesn't get a shot is if that other team already beat them this year. And it's like 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever the case may be against that team. So Sky Blue Army needs to be very concerned because when you look at the points for, clearly the worst team in the league right now. Okay, so I just want to throw that out there. Age Crew now only 11 points behind Ramrods, right, for dead last seed. So it's getting very, very interesting on the survival watch, folks. And I hope you're getting excited because this is really wrapping down to be very a nice finish. I got 4 game of the week candidates. I got Mother Tucker versus Storm. Why? Just for the simple fact they're both 5-6 and fighting for their playoff lives. Okay. I know they're not powerful teams, but should be still a good game to watch. Green Lightning versus the 6, same scenario, right? You got a 5-6 team versus a 6-5 team. Green Lightning has a chance to do some significant damage to the 6's playoff hopes with a win here. Okay, so very interesting one to watch here. Another one that I think is very interesting to watch. Well, remember I said one of those teams have to get the 4 wins. One of them will. It's Age Crew versus BC Lions, the 2 retired teams. And so, I mean, I know BC Lions already has the 4th win, but what if the Age Crew gets the 4th win, right? So I thought for a second there, BC Lions only had 3 wins. They do have 4, but I still think that's a big game because I think that's one that the Age Crew still has a chance to win. Okay. And then the last one, I'm going Clengy versus Finito. The reason for this is because, of course, Clengy is still fighting for his playoff life at 5-6, and a loss here to Finito. Can Finito stay undefeated? Would essentially dash those hopes. Anyways, folks, that's it for the recap. I think, honestly, I don't think there's going to be any more teams booted. I think every other team in the tiered format is LOC material. Okay, I want to say that about all you owners. If you're watching this video, you're all LOC material. Okay, and we're going to need 4 owners for next year. I've reached out to some of you privately to hopefully you guys can dig up an owner somewhere. And I hope you do because referrals are going to be best. And for some of those guys, I've private messaged in tier 3. If you can get a buddy in there playing in the same tier as you, how much fun is that, right? So anyways, folks, I just want to wish you guys nothing but success for week 12 and hope you had fun watching the video.